the Glock G45 Gen 6. Let's check it out. Guys, the Glock Gen 6. This is a big upgrade over the Gen 5. The Gen 5 was released in 2017, so it's about time for an upgrade. Plus, this is the G45. Now, it has that full-length grip of the Model 17, but it has that shortened slide of the 19. The big secret to that is the recoil system. That shortened recoil system allows this to get back into battery very fast. And honestly, as far as all the Glock pistols, this is one of the best shooting. And we've done a lot of side-by-side comparison. But now, with the Gen 6, one of the big things that Glock was going for is to make this a more shootable handgun. And guys, there's a lot of cool features about it, not just this really cool texturing that they've improved on the grip and the beaver tail. So the Glock Gen 6, a lot of cool upgrades, and we're going to take a look at it, but also we're going to look at just why you would want the G45 over maybe the G47, the G17, the G19, or a lot of other options. Now, they're only offering this at this time in the G45, the G19, and the G17. The other models will be coming, but the optic system alone is a huge upgrade. So let's take a look. And a big thank you to Glock for sending the G45 Gen 6 for this review. All right, guys, we have the Glock Gen 6 Model 45, and that means it has that full-length grip of the Model 17, so we have 17 rounds, but then we have the shorter slide of the 19. And again, the big deal here is that recoil system. It's the short recoil system. You have less slide mass, you have more leverage, and it just makes it, to me, the best shooting Glock. And there'll be differences of opinion, but just shooting them side by side, I found that this is much more controllable. Now, before we get started, we'll go ahead and drop our 17 round magazine, check the chamber. Now, one of the big things about this handgun is the grip. And really, Glock was working to make this a more shootable handgun. I mean, your standard Glocks have been around, you know, they're called the block, they're called a number of different things, but this has made a big difference. Here with the original Model 45, Gen 5. This has that texturing on it, but it's got that straight down line. I mean, this, you can see already, the grip is a little thicker. That's because it has palm swells. Also, they have upped the texturing, and it's really aggressive, and yet it's kind of soft to the touch. So it's going to be nice to carry. The original Gen 5 is a little bit grippy right here, and it kind of catches. Here, it's just a little smoother. But it also wraps around higher, and again, we have it all across the back strap, and we have it all up here, and it comes up into the finger or the thumb groove, and this one does not. So to me, that was an improvement, and then here at the front, it just goes all the way out. Now, we're going to get into some of the things about just the Gen 5 in particular first, and then we're going to look at some differences with some of the others. But here, you have a nice undercut, and that's one of the big things about this Glock knuckle, which I have a permanent callus right here. Because when you're shooting the Glock with it down like this, it tends to ride right there on your finger. And so that was a big difference. And one of the things that Glock was wanting to achieve is to keep strength right here. Because for me, I have relieved this area on a lot of my Glocks. And this is done by the factory. It's done to the right specs. So it just gives us a bonus. Also, which is a big deal, is these recoil management pads at the front. And here you can use it as an index pad just for your finger to bring it up. But here, this gives you a little bit of a ledge to be able to control that recoil. Now, one of the things about this, a lot of times with guns, they'll bring this out. But this actually rides exactly the same on the frame as the original. They've just cut into it. And so this makes it to where it'll fit into any of your holsters that fits your 45 or even your 19 because it's the same length. Also, they built up a little fence right here around the slide stop, and some guys were having some issues with that really high ride, and they were hitting the slide stop and it wasn't holding open on the last round. The beaver tail, big plus. Now, typically this came only on extended back straps for your large. So this gives us an integral beaver tail with the smallest back strap. And then of course you have 2 additional back straps to give you a little more width. But it still has that very narrow feel to it, even though it has the palm swells. And it kind of rounds it off just a touch, which, guys, it makes a huge difference. I mean, picking up the Glock and shooting the Glock for years, I love it. I mean, the Gen 5 really came together for me, and without the finger grooves, and it just made this a very shootable handgun. But now they've taken it up to another level, and it's just a total redo, honestly, of the grip, and yet we still retain all the same parts and we keep that simplicity. Again, just 1-slot Picatinny rail, which is traditional, and we still have the little nub that comes out in front of the trigger guard, and we have just straight line texturing. The Marksman barrel, which is a polygonal grooved barrel, and it lends to better accuracy with the Marksman barrel. It's also crowned, and it's a 4-inch barrel. And then, of course, we have the cuts here at the front of the slide just to make it easier to get in and out of holsters, which they were already doing that on the Gen 5. But you can see the fence that's been built up compared to the Gen 5. Also, of course, we have the front cocking serrations, but the serrations themselves have been built up. Here at the top, near the slide, you have more area that's been relieved, so it gives you more gripping surface. Here you see on the original, it just kind of fades into the slide. And so this gives you a much better purchase on the grip or on the slide to be able to bring that back. And it's on both front and rear. Also, we have MOS that's going to be permanent. Now we have MOS that's going to be on all the different models. Here with this original 45, it didn't come with MOS at the time. Now they've made it that way. But now we're going to have it on every model, and we're going to look at this system. They have changed the system altogether. One of the banes of the Glock MOS system was the adapter plate, and it had some issues. This gives you a much better, more secure fit. Now for your optics cover plate, it's polymer. But instead of just a flat plate, there is a shape here, which allows you to take an adapter plate, put it inside, it rides down into that cavity, and then this is also polymer, and it acts as a crush washer. So when I put my sight on here and I tighten down the screws, this will allow it to just build up some tension, which is going to make it stronger even than having metal, because it's going to have a little bit of give and it's just going to rest on this plate. The great thing is you get the adapter plates, all of them, with the handgun, and this is probably one of the most secure fitting adapter plates on the market. And they will be including this on all their models. There is no more MOS version. It's just this, according to what Glock said. So this is really a big upgrade. What's funny is they've kept those same Glock plastic sights that everybody likes to complain about. But these are fairly inexpensive to produce, and most people are going to change them out for night sights, fiber optic, or whatever. So this just keeps the price down some, and yet they are serviceable. And for most people, these are going to be fine. But if you're really using your handgun a lot, these can be a liability. But they function for years. I still carry some with these sights on it. Typically for a dedicated carry handgun, I will switch these out to night sights. The mag release has been changed a little bit. They have a little bit more smoothness at the front, and it's just a little different, but it's still switchable to the other side. So for those guys who want to have that mag release over here, you can do it, and it is ambi on the slide stop. And I feel that they've actually increased the groove right here for your takedown levers. It just seems to be a little bit deeper than it does, and it is, on the Gen 5. And you can see the cut right here, and they may have had to have beefed that up some. So this gives you a little more depth to be able to get a hold of that slide stop. Another big switch is your extractor assembly. This is also for your firing pin safety. And you'll notice that we just have the extractor showing. Here we have a little section that comes back, and they have replaced this with the system that came from the back, and we'll look at it when we break it down. And it was just one piece that came all the way down. The reason why they changed this out is because when people were putting optics on their handguns, some of the screws may have been a little bit longer, and it interfered with the extractor and with your striker safety. And I'll show you that as well when we break it down. It's a pretty cool system. Now, Glock improved their trigger on their Gen 5, but with the new Gen 6, we have a flat face trigger, and this is a vast improvement. They had already started doing the competition triggers that you could replace, but this gives you that flat face trigger right out of the box. Here with the safety, you can see that it blocks the trigger action, and so once we depress it, it lifts it up. We come to a 90-degree wall, and then a nice break. Reset. Right there. There are some better triggers out there with Canic, the CZ P10C, even the VP9 from HK. They have a little more crispness, but this is a really good trigger, and it's more of a duty trigger. And we'll check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 3 pounds 15 ounces. 4 pounds 3.4 ounces. The trigger pull weight, and also on the 19 Gen 6, is less than 5.5 pounds or 5 pounds, which is typical for most of your Glock pistols. So you're getting a little bit less trigger weight, you're getting that right geometry with the 90 degree, and you're getting just a better trigger pull. And guys, just like the Gen 5, the Gen 6 does come with 3 magazines. And all the parts are compatible with your Gen 5 except for the extractor safety setup. The extractor itself is still a Gen 5 design extractor. But overall, you have all the parts compatibility. But really what got things started is the G19X. And this was part of the US military trials, and it performed very well, but of course they chose SIG instead, maybe a big mistake. But here you have that same long grip. One thing is it has a little nub right here, so it doesn't take your standard new magazines. But this is just the first, and I love this little handgun. It's not optics ready. This is the way it came, but this was the original. And then they came on out with the G45 Gen 5, and again, you do have the MOS version available, which really led to the Glock G47. Now this is the full-length slide, just like your 17, with a full-length grip, but the recoil system has been shortened to the G19. So it has the same recoil system of your G45 or your Glock 19, but the slide has a little bit of length to it. Now that just makes the cycling shorter. And guys, again, this to me shoots a lot better than your standard Model 17 because of that system. It just gives you a better recoil impulse. It brings the slide back, but yet it doesn't flip the muzzle as much. I'm a big fan of the 47, and I'm looking forward to them introducing the new Gen 6 with the 47. And guys, we recently did a review of the Glock 19 Gen 6, and because of some of the differences in the way this shot, I just wanted to do a full separate review. But again, this also comes in the Model 17, and then more models will follow. Now the weight on the Gen 6 Model 45, 22.95 ounces. The weight on the Gen 5 G45, 24.66 ounces. There's almost an ounce difference in weight. Now, one of the things that Glock was really trying to achieve, again, with the Gen 6 is to make it just more shootable. And so we're going to take both the original Gen 5 45 and the Gen 6, and we're going to shoot them side by side. All right, guys, a big thank you to Fiocchi for sponsoring our ammo, all made in the USA, one of the biggest suppliers of ammunition in the country. Also, a big thanks to Lula Loaders for making range day a little easier. Now with it comes a Glock magazine loader, and I haven't used one of these in a while. So first you want to push down, lift up, and then push in. And it works, and it helps keep you from wearing out your thumb. But I'll tell you this, it ain't no Maglula. Well guys, the Gen 6, definitely a lot of grip changes, which is going to add to shootability, and really that's what Glock was after. The texturing, I love it, kind of a carpet. And then the palm swells. That's what really changes the game. So you got that same grip angle, but it feels a little bit heavier in your hand, feels a little bit better. The beaver tail is just going to mitigate the recoil. The recoil pads on the side where you can really get a hold of it and again mitigate recoil. That's the big thing about this handgun, and there are other differences. This has that 17 length full grip with the shorter slide, shorter recoil system. The serrations have been beefed up, makes it just a little bit easier to get on target. Now, you just have control over it. Before, with Glock, it's been kind of blocky, you know, and that's been the big thing. So I'm gonna shoot right next to it the 45 Gen 5, just to see the differences with the grip, and if you have a Gen 5, would you even want to look at a Gen 6? Yeah, you can tell immediately that the serrations are less, texturing's less, but it's been fine, but I think they've really upgraded. You know, I feel like I have a good purchase on this. I've really been a big fan of the Gen 5. I can shoot this very well, but definitely with the Gen 6, it just kind of molds in your hand. This, it just seems a little bit like a slab, and when you're bringing it in, again, very used to it, but I think that they've really upped it. I found that I was actually putting my thumb on that little extension right here on the frame, but there was nothing there to grip to, and that's one of the things about the new one that makes a big difference. But overall, it's still a great shooting handgun. But now we've got the Gen 6 Model 19. So we're going to kind of look at it between the G45 and the G19. Same slide length, same barrel length, but then we have a little bit of a longer grip. So let's just see, side by side, what the differences are. Very close, but guys, there's something about having that extra leverage of the grip. There's just something about it. You've got the same recoil system, you've got the same slide weight, same barrel length, but this coming down a little bit, it just adds to a little more controllability. Is it game-changing? Not necessarily, but definitely this is a little bit more manageable. And we have found that with the Gen 5 because we did side-by-side there. So the Gen 6 really kind of takes it up to another level, and then with the G45 it just gives you even more shootability. But we're not finished shooting because I'm really enjoying these new Glocks. It's just very controllable, very controllable. Okay, you've got the 19 now. What do you think about the difference between that and the 45?
I'd say I like the 45 a little better just because of that longer grip. Something about guns with the shorter grips, I feel like they're going to slip out of my hands a little bit. I feel like my pinky's going to get loose. I just feel like I have a lot more control of this one. But I mean, they both shoot fantastic, and this is my favorite part, where I put my thumb right here. I absolutely love that. But I'd have to go with the 45 for sure. But for concealed carry, I'd probably have to go 19 though, just because of that shorter grip. That's the one thing I would say. But overall, I love both of them.
Decisions. As far as disassembly, same as your regular Glocks. Check the chamber, gun's empty, pull the trigger, point it in a safe direction, pull back on your slide about 1/4 of an inch, and pull down on your takedown tabs. They feel like they extend just a little bit more, and maybe that's the cavity increase. Here we've got our recoil spring. Now this is a difference as well. They've gone back to the single recoil spring, and it is the flat recoil spring, which actually aids in mitigating recoil, since they're not offering the 40 anymore. And then of course we have our barrel, and again, marksman barrel, polygonal grooves, and it has been crowned, and these are cold hammer forged. Slide, we still have the copper kind of color to it that they use at the factory. This has not been shot yet, but overall, I mean, same thing with the Glock. The upper is really close except for this part, and we're going to look at that. And then the frame, same thing. It's pretty much your Glock Gen 5 frame in the internals. The one big change is in the slide, and here is your striker safety plunger, and of course it has been shortened. It used to go from the back plate all the way down. Now again, it's really short, and it has a small hole here, and this is for disassembly. Now it does come with this tool, and this is to change out your back straps, but it's just the right size for this little small hole. So we bring in our punch, and you want to just hear a snap, just like that. Once you hear that, you should be able to drop out your extractor. Next, we just go ahead and push forward on our assembly, and it comes right out. Now we have our firing pin safety right here, or striker safety. And all you need to do is take your striker, pull it back, and this piece will fall out. It also has a spring at the back. Now the sleeve on your striker is you just bring it down, and then your back plate will pop off, just like this. Put your finger over it, just so your sleeve doesn't come out. But you'll notice that there is no place for your extractor assembly. And so that's a difference as well, which honestly makes this much easier to reassemble. Now to reinsert your firing pin safety plunger, you want to have the curved end toward the back, and it's more scalloped around. So we're going to bring it and place it. It only goes in one way. And then take your firing pin or your striker and pull it up, and just drop this down. And once it goes in, it's locked in. Next, we're going to take our plunger for our extractor, and we're going to go ahead and set it close in, and then it just slides right into that groove. Now to reinstall your extractor, you'll notice the little claw goes toward the outside and the circular cylinder goes toward the back. And it goes right into this slot, but you'll notice that little silver detent. We'll take our punch again, and we're going to just depress it. And I want you to watch, it pops it back into place. This allows you to drop in your extractor, and then you can release it. And now it's locked in. And guys, that's all you need to do to fill the strips. Very simple. So let's just replace our barrel. We're going to replace our guide rod and recoil spring. Take your slide, put it back over your frame, and we're back in business. Otis makes some of the best cleaning equipment out there. They make a number of different kits that are dedicated for different rifles, pistols. They also have Shooter's Choice, which makes excellent CLP and bore solvent and different cleaning materials. The Ripcord is one of their signatures, and there's a whole system based around it. They are suppliers to the U.S. military. So check out Otis Technologies, highly recommended, and we want to thank Otis for being a sponsor of the channel. Comes with the standard Glock box. Open it up. We have our pistol. We have 2 additional magazines. We have the Glock loader, which actually works pretty decent. And then we have those 2 extra back straps. They are marked medium and large. The small is just without the back strap. And we have our optics plates and our lock and all the stuff. And cleaning rod and brush. As far as MSRP, at the time of this video, this has not been announced. That's easy enough to find. Of course, you are getting the MOS version just automatically, so that does factor into the price. So what are some pros and cons? Grip texture, big pro. This beaver tail coming up. The recoil management pads, and having the texturing going that way as well, and just the wraparound. We have a flat face trigger, it's excellent. The slide serrations have been improved. The MOS, or the mounting system, is definitely been fixed. Much better than the original. We do have the shortened extractor, and so this is just going to help with more reliability of not putting any pressure on your extractor. And we're going with a single recoil spring. And guys, that's great. Those are great upgrades, but why would you want the G45 over, let's say, the G19? Or for that matter, with their 17, which again is coming out. This is the 47, but it's the larger size. This is your full-size handgun. Then you go with that in-between, and then we have the more compact. Again, not like your Slimline, but still a bit much more compact pistol. One of the big things about this is you get extra rounds, so you get a 17+1. You get that shortened recoil system that really makes this shoot very flat. So it is a hybrid. It is a little bit between the two, but honestly, as far as taking this out to the range, I mean, it shoots extremely well. One of the things about a longer slide is you get a better sight radius, but most guys now are going with the red dot sights, and so that just really negates that. You're still getting great accuracy, and of course, shootability to me is better. One of the things about recoil is that it comes over your hand, and that whole slide mass is what brings this up. The shorter the slide mass or the lighter, the easier the recoil, and the higher you get up on that bore axis, which Glock is known for having a very low bore axis. So the one thing about the 45 is that it definitely is a better shooting gun, and then when you get this grip system and the way they've set it up, it just makes, again, for a much more shootable firearm. And guys, if you already own the Gen 5 G45, this is an excellent handgun, and it was top notch when it came out. Still a viable self-defense option. This just makes it a little more shootable with the palm swells as well. It just gives a better grip, but this is still a Glock, and it's just excellent. Well guys, the Glock Gen 6, it's not just a little bit of texturing that's been changed. There's a lot of cool features, a lot of cool upgrades, and this definitely makes it more shootable for your Glock pistols. Guys, I'm a big fan of Glock. I've been shooting Glock since they've come out, and this is definitely a big upgrade. Just the mounting system itself is huge. So check out the new Glock Gen 6, again, coming out in the 1917 and the G45, and this is moving it in the right direction. And again, a big thank you to Glock for sending the G45 Gen 6 for this review. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. There's just a lot of cool things about this. So there's a lot of cool things about this. Well guys, the Glock Gen 6, it's not just, it's not just. This to me is one of the best shooting Glock handguns on the market. I mean, it is just down the market. What market? And the slide comes off. Okay, that was a little bit Yankee. Janky. Palm swells, the beaver tail. I mean, there's a lot of things about this gun that really bring Glock back to the forefront. And there's a lot of cool features. They really strove, is the shortened recoil system. This shoots to me like I think I've already done that.